Hi, this is Delisa Fields with Student Discipline and Behavior Support, presenting a video in our social emotional learning group starters. Sometimes I call it a template that can be used with the Caring School Community Curriculum. We have received tremendous feedback from many of our schools who have been taking advantage of these videos, and we have specifically received requests from our lower grades that they would like more material to help support their social emotional learning. So this particular video is one that I put together using the theme from Frozen. It focuses on self-management, which is one of the 5 competencies in social emotional learning, certainly one that our young people, actually all people, could use. So we're going to dive into this particular starter. And one of the things that I want to mention is that this SEL group starter will work really well with grades K through 5. Now, and I have a high schooler, and she says, well, Mom, we like cartoons too. We like Disney too. So upper grades, you can certainly use it or extract some of the tools that we've shared. And I always say, adapt it, make it yours. Take some of the ideas and suggestions that we've shared here and make it yours. Use your own content and apply some of what we share here and make it your own. Whatever it takes to support your students is what we endeavor to do. So here with self-management, this LCO group starter works really well with grades K through 5. You could also find that it corresponds with week 7 in your feelings and challenges unit in the Caring School Teacher's Guide. And it will also work well with social topics, which include resolving conflict and, and unkind speech. So let's get started. We want to always begin our groups with setting our norms. And you'll find that consistent across all the videos that we do, is that you want to set the norm so that the group, your class, understands what the expectations are so that you can have a successful group experience. So we want to follow these acronyms, give thoughtful feedback, respect others and their thoughts. We may not agree, it's okay. That's a part of the human experience. We won't see eye to eye on everything. However, there is a way, and self-management will teach us that there is a way to communicate even if we disagree. So on task all the time. These types of groups, SEL groups, can take you in a variety of directions. And so I often say that our students own the group, but we hold the steering wheel. We want to keep it in line with what our objectives are, what our purposes are, what the theme is for the particular group. So staying on task all the time is key. Using soft voices, participating actively, that's going to look different for some of our students who aren't active participators, but if you would pay attention and just do some observation, you'll find that they are taking in the material. And even though their responses may be minimal, let's support them where they are. And then stay with the group. We don't want to venture off and incorporate uh, a topic or some type of rabbit trail that has nothing to do with the group. We want to stay focused as much as we possibly can. So let's look at our objectives. The objectives for this particular group, again, we're talking about self-management, is we want to recognize mood changes and factors that contribute to them, those precipitating factors we like to call in CPI. What is causing the mood change? Why am I acting this way? What is triggering me? Why do I act this way around these people and I'm different around those people, those types of people? So what are my mood changes? What are those factors? We want to demonstrate ways to deal with upsetting emotions. We all have upsetting emotions. We all have sadness. We all have anger. We all have disappointment. That's the human experience. How do I deal with that? How do I deal with being upset? How do I deal with being sad? Is it okay to ask for support? Is it okay to be sad? Do I have permission to express my emotions? And the third objective is to practice deep breathing to calm yourself. Now, if you know anything about Elsa, and within this particular video, there is I think it's about a 5 or maybe 6 minute clip. If you haven't seen the movie, it's going to give you some insight into what Frozen is about. I'm certain your students wouldn't mind sharing with you. You may say, hey, has anyone seen the movie Frozen? Do you mind sharing out with the group some of your favorite scenes? And you can sort of draw information that way. But within this video, we do share a 6 minute clip. Um, and so one of the things that you'll find out about Elsa is that whenever she would become angry, everything around her froze. And so, anger triggered, became a precipitating factor. And then as a result of that, people that she loved, people close to her, were affected because of her emotions, because of her conduct and behavior. So this is some really good discussion for our young people. And so we want to teach them these, deep breathing, de-stressing, de-escalating techniques. This will be a really good time to introduce that. What if Elsa knew how to breathe out? What if Elsa knew how to meditate? What if Elsa knew how to practice mindfulness? So we can incorporate that and build some good discussion. The purpose of the group is to describe how various situations make you feel. Describe a time you felt the same way that a story character felt. And so if you're using Frozen or Elsa, or if you're using another character from another cartoon or TV show or movie or what have you, have the students examine the differences between that story, that character in that story or show, and look at the similarities and build discussion around that. Explain how characters and stories felt as they did. This will also be good for a book study if you want to do a class book study, and then look at those characters and say, you know what, well, let's talk about what Johnny was experiencing in this particular chapter. Why was he triggering anger? What could his friend have done? What could have his mom? What could his grandparents have done to help de-escalate Johnny so that he didn't throw the rock through Miss Brown's window and damaged her new mirror? you know. So you could also use a book study as opposed to using video. So these are just some helpful templates, some ideas that you can use to generate your own conduct. So we like to begin the group. Once we set the norms, we like to begin with a feelings check-in. We have provided a feelings chart. Some call it a mood meter. And if you don't have access to one, I'll be more than happy to email you a copy that you can print or laminate so that you can use it throughout the school year. It is filled with emojis. I'm going to show you that in just a few minutes. And it helps students identify their feelings. I've worked with middle and high school grades, and you'd be amazed at students who did not know how to express their feelings. And so we can't assume that just because a student is in the 8th grade or the 10th or even a senior knows how to express their feelings. And so this feelings chart is very instrumental in helping our students identify and define their feelings. And so we also want to make sure that we're not judging them. We're not criticizing them. If they feel sad, if they feel anxious, it's not, in our SEL circles, we are teaching our students how to express feelings, how to identify their emotions. And so it's counterproductive if we take on the role of judging them or criticizing them or making them feel uncomfortable for sharing. So we want to avoid that as much as possible. You're going to find that the feelings chart is divided into 4 quadrants. It's based upon energy and pleasantness levels. I'm going to begin here in the green. The green is going to represent low energy, low pleasantness, and you have those emojis there, just satisfied, I'm at peace, I'm kind, loving, relieved. And then you'll find, I'm going to move up, high energy, high pleasantness, and this is a student or person who is ecstatic. Many of us feel like this at the end of the day, maybe the end of the school year, thrilled, enthusiastic, cheerful, really in a good place. And then you find here to the lower left corner, we have low energy, low pleasantness. And this is a student or staff who is feeling depressed, sad, embarrassed, disappointed, tired. Okay, they have those negative emotions, but they're low performing or low demonstrating or low manifesting, I guess I want to say. And then here in the red, we have that high energy, low pleasantness. In the very top left corner, enraged. We don't want to be here. We certainly don't want our students there, but it happens, right? there are instances where we should be enraged, depending on what the circumstances are. So a student may be feeling uneasy, maybe testing anxiety, um, frustrated, annoyed, disgusted. And so we want to allow our students, we're going to pose the question, hey, how do you feel today? And many times I would model it. I would say, good morning or good afternoon. My name is Miss Fields, and today I'm feeling content. And they may say, well, why are you feeling content, Miss Fields? I'm feeling content because we've had a good day and everyone has been on task and everything is going great. So I'm happy. I'm satisfied. I'm all green. And then you may have a student, little Johnny, which is what I like to use in my examples. Little Johnny may say, well, good morning, I'm Johnny, but today I'm sad, I'm in the blue. And so I would say, well, Johnny, why are you sad? Well, because I didn't get to watch my favorite TV show. Mom made me go to bed early, whatever, okay? And so we want to validate that. Well, Johnny, I appreciate you for sharing that you're sad. Hopefully by the end of the day, we can walk you across the street and move you over to the green, or by the time we're done with the focus group, SEL group. So once we have checked in with our students' feelings, then we want to introduce the theme, which is self-management. And so since we're focusing more on the lower grades here, I did not put a lot of effort into that discussion piece, and you can certainly use your own experiential knowledge here. But in a nutshell, self-management is controlling your emotions. Little Johnny said he's sad. Well, Johnny, we acknowledge that you're sad. What is your plan for staying on task despite being sad? How are you going to get through your day, even though you're in a low, you're demonstrating negative emotions? How can we support you? Self-management also involves motivating yourself in all situations. So again, with Johnny, Johnny is sad. However, Johnny has to get through this day. So Johnny, what is your plan to motivate yourself to get through the day so that you don't bring us all into your blue? Okay. Is it fair for you to bring Miss Fields into your blue? Miss Fields is in yellow. Is it fair for you to bring Miss Fields into your blue? And then the third key here is identifying what you are feeling. He's sad. Why are you sad? Because I missed my favorite TV show. Understood. And so I'm going to validate that. And I would say something like, well, you know, I feel sad when I can't watch my favorite movie or TV show. And so what I'll do is record it on DVR or look it up on Netflix. And so identifying what you're feeling and then putting a plan in place to motivate yourself despite how you're feeling, but also to control your emotions, because you shouldn't be in the blue just because I'm in the blue. So taking responsibility for our feelings. Now we want to move on to making the connection between the student and the lesson. And so here you find this unique sloth. He says, almost everything, the quote says by Anna Lamott, almost everything will work again if you unplug it for a few minutes, including you. And I'll just insert here to say that I have UVerse, and I'm telling you, just about every other day, I'm unplugging something so that it will work. So this is this is personal to me. But think about it in life, and this is a conversation that we can have with our students. When are times then when you need to unplug, when you need to just separate, pull away, isolate yourself so that you can pull yourself together, get your thoughts together, and talk about that. Model what unplugging looks like. Like I said, hey, I have cable service, and just about every 3 days or so, every third day, I'm having to unplug and reset. Very frustrating, very frustrating. But I have to put a plan. I need to call the technician out and go through all of that so that I don't feel overwhelmed. Every 3 days, I'm overwhelmed. But again, you want to model what unplugging looks like for you so that your students can base your demonstration. They can use it as a base to share times when they need to unplug, or you may inspire ideas. Hey, I didn't know that it's okay to just sit by myself sometimes. I thought that I needed to be around people. And I'm finding out about myself that maybe I need a moment to myself. And it's not punishment. I think that's key, especially for our lower grades. It's not always punishment when you need to spend time alone. Sometimes it can be the most therapeutic thing. Listen, as an adult, it is very therapeutic to just have time to yourself. And so this would be a good place to build that connection so that your students can understand, hey, Miss Fields is human too. Mr. Brown, Miss Brown, they're human too. They need to know that. They need to know that We have times when we need to unplug and just be like that sloth. Just get away. I'm out of order. I can't be reached. I just need a moment. I call it a woosah. I need to woosah. Okay. All right. And so now we want to get into the thrust or the main idea of our group. And it's going to be this SEL lesson on self-management. And it's based upon Frozen, which this is all copyrighted by Disney. And I'm certain your students will enjoy it. Like my daughter said, even the older kids would enjoy something like this. So as you view the following 5-minute clip, and I believe it's a 6-minute clip, so pardon the error there, but it's a 6-minute clip. Keep in mind the topics from the care and school community. Now, either you can show this particular clip to your students or you can watch it for your own benefit so that you can have content when sharing out with your students. But I just shared it just because not everybody, not everybody's watched Frozen, so I wanted to give you some content there, some background. And so you want to keep these topics in mind. And even if you're going to show this clip or another clip to your students, you want to say, hey, can someone point out to me as you watch the video what I want you to keep in mind, because we don't want them to just watch it for entertainment. We want them to watch it for education and information. So I want you to keep in mind instances in this clip where you found feelings and challenges being displayed. Keep in mind instances where you saw conflict or the resolution of conflict, or when you saw unkind speech or not. Okay, so let's look at this clip. All right, so with that, so many discussion topics you can pull from that. These are just a few that I pulled. And I want to apologize. I don't think his name is Christoph. I think his name was Sven. So my error there. But at any rate, so much you could pull away from that. Remember we talked about having to isolate, like the sloth said he's out of order. And if you notice here, Elsa having this unresolved issue with anger or frustration, she saw it best to isolate herself. And so that's a good point that could segue into a timeout. If you're having to isolate a student or maybe walk a student or what have you. And then we could use Elsa as a point of contact or point of reference. Remember a time when Elsa was upset and she understood that her emotions were affecting other people, caused harm to her sister, caused harm to her entire village. And so she found it necessary to remove herself until she was able to cope with those negative emotions. And so you can go so many places with that. Like I said, I just pulled about 6 topics from it, but use your imagination, or even if Frozen is not your thing, use the same framework with a movie or a book or even a picture, a quote. You could do so much with this. So let's just look at some of the discussion topics that I drafted. Why was Anna reluctant to bring Olaf and Kristoff, again, that should be Spin, to see Elsa? Why was she reluctant? We notice that, again, we're teaching our students how to recognize emotions. And I'll say this, I didn't include this in my point, but in the very beginning, the first few moments of the clip, we saw the effort that Anna put into reaching her sister. And so taking that as a discussion piece, have you paid attention to the what word I only, the steps people have put in place to reach you, to help you? Consider Anna. She was climbing up this mountain to her detriment. I mean, she could have fallen, she could have gotten injured, but she was determined to climb that mountain to reach Elsa, to help Elsa, to support Elsa. And so this would be a good point to convey to our students. Have you ever thought about the efforts a person has put forth to reach you, to try to talk to you, to try to support you? Think about that. So number 2, why was Anna determined to confront Elsa? Remember, she said, I'm not afraid. And then, of course, we saw that Elsa took a trip down memory lane and remember the time she was upset and inadvertently injured her sister. And so that fear of harming someone that she loved someone that she cared about, was what drove her away to the quote unquote ice castle. But Anna is saying, hey, I'm not afraid anymore. I'm willing to put it all out here. I'm willing to sacrifice to make this relationship, make this friendship, make this thing work. How did Elsa feel when she saw Anna? She was delighted to see her. But then you'll notice after a while her countenance changed, and you could see the reluctance, and you could also see the anxiety. She kept walking away. She didn't want to hurt her sister. And so I think even times as we um, approach students who are in crisis is noticing that proximity, right? Keeping that safe distance, being pivoted a little bit so that we're not appearing to be threatening. These are some very important keys too that we can pay attention to. How did Elsa feel when she saw Olaf? And I mean, come on, who can't love Olaf? He's just adorable, right? He's goofy, he's funny, he's just this cute, furry, icy thing. And she couldn't believe it. She said, wow. And she looked at her hands. She could not believe that her hands created something good. And she even said, are you still alive? Isn't that something that we feel that sometimes with, and I'm just speaking in general, this can apply to an adult or a child, but sometimes you can feel like you messed up so bad. You made such a terrible decision that you failed to see the good, even in the midst of the bad, that there was some good. And so Olaf represented the good that Elsa had done. Despite all of the tragedy surrounding her, Olaf reminded her that, hey, there is something good in you. Underneath the anger, underneath those hard shells and walls of resistance, there's something good. And she looked at her hands. So it may be helpful even if you go back and look at the clip again, just in light of what we're sharing, so that you can kind of marry these pieces of information together and use it to present to your students. So why was Elsa reluctant to speak with Anna? She was afraid. She didn't want to be triggered. And some of our students are like that. They'll shut down. Leave me alone. I don't want to talk, because they're trying in their own way to de-escalate. But Anna was determined. I'm here to support you. And she kept running behind her, but she kept a distance. If you notice, she kept a safe distance. Number 6, is it important to have support when you are unable to manage your emotions? Absolutely. Each of us, adult or student, it is important to have support. And Anna represented the support that Elsa needed. Olaf represented that support. I apologize. My neighbor decided he cuts grass every day. But anyway, joys of working remotely, right? But it is important to have those support, to have that support network. And so the number 7 is we're going to put that responsibility on our students. Name your support network. And for some, it may be one person. Give me one person in your life, one grown-up, one trusted adult who you can turn to when you're in crisis, or when you feel angry, or when you're in that red box, and you can recount the emotions, the anxiety, the frustration. Who is that one person? And help them identify that support network. So in closing, you want to encourage your students to look more closely at the emotional conflict portrayed in their favorite movies or shows, and take notes from them. In other words, from this point forward, as we're helping them to develop SEL skills, we want them to look at their world differently. Look at their world through a different set of lenses. And take notes. Inspire them to build a support network of those who they can reach when they are escalating negative behavior. And lastly, commend them. Hey, you guys have done a phenomenal job. Give that positive reinforcement. Thank you for sharing your feelings. And we're going to close out with that. Thank you for opening up. Thank you, Johnny, for sharing that you're sad. Now, Johnny, what I would like to know, after having had this discussion, how do you feel now? And so hopefully Johnny says, well, when we checked in with our group, I was feeling sad. But after we had a chance to talk about Elsa, and I looked at how Elsa had support with Anna, I now feel at peace. And so you've walked Johnny across the street to a safe place. And you yourself, you may have started out feeling, I think I said I was satisfied or content. And so now I'm feeling thrilled, because my students engaged in discussion, they're thinking, they're talking, they're communicating, they're providing peer support, and I am ecstatic. And I would say that, well, good afternoon, everybody, and this is the end of our group. We're closing out, and I'm just so proud of you guys. I'm in the yellow. I'm in a high yellow. I was in a high green, but because of your feedback and because of your energy and because of how you all have shared out in your transparency and your honesty, I'm feeling ecstatic. And so you want to take note of that student who may not, Johnny may still be sad. And so you may dismiss the group, but go ahead and spend some follow-up time with Johnny. Okay. So this has been another SEL starter group template featuring self-management. Again, you can marry some of this content with our Caring School curriculum, and you can own it, you can adapt it. If you need support, if you'd like help with developing maybe some of your own group plans, we'd love to support you. The Student Discipline and Behavior Support team is here for you. So feel free to reach out. My number is listed, my email is listed. You can contact me at any time. You can also contact anyone in the department. We're all willing to serve. And if you have a few moments, if you would, and I do this at the end of every video, is just ask for feedback. And again, this is posted at the end of every video, but perhaps there was something different here. So even if though you may have participated in the feedback before, I would just love to get some feedback in terms of what you thought about this one. How was this particular group study or template helpful to you? What were some of the takeaways? What was not helpful? Just let me know your thoughts. And so that would help me continue to do the work that we do to support our district. Okay? Well, until next time, you guys stay safe. Take care.